Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. We're going to learn a little bit about the Great Depression this evening. Um, I have to give a big shout out to my neighbors and my kids and their friends to, show support and be thankful. Um, so, there's always the big misconception. You hear from your grandparents, oh, the Great Depression, it was terrible. That's about all you hear. And then in history class, you hear about the same, soup lines, things like that, the crash. They don't really get into very much detail. So that's kind of all I really knew about it, too. My grandpa would tell me things from time to time, but it was never anything in great detail. Just, yeah, it was crappy. And it was dusty, the dirty 30s, talked about the drought and things like that. But one of the things that really caught my eye that I didn't really notice or know about was before the crash. On October 24th, 1929, which is referred to as Black Thursday. At the time, it was the heaviest trading day in history that they had recorded up to that point. There was like upwards of 12.6 million trades made that day, and everybody was just ecstatic. However, the day after, it kind of started falling apart, and it gradually just went downhill. When the markets opened on Monday again, they were kind of just kind of willy-nilly, didn't really see any, just kind of felt fishy. And then, which everybody knows a little bit more, the 29th of October, Black Tuesday, when it just fell apart. Nobody would buy, everybody wanted to sell, and it was pretty horrendous. Nobody really know what to do. And after that, everybody closed their doors, which was kind of crazy, because up to that point, it's something that had never happened before. And then another thing that I researched or came across while I was researching for this was it's called the Bonus Army Marches. I'm a vet, so it was something that I kind of caught my eye right away. I was real curious what was going on with that. And what it was is after World War I, the government gave out these vouchers to all the veterans and said, in 1945, you can cash these in for, X amount of dollars plus interest. Kind of like, war bonds during World War II, but a little bit better. So during the Depression, I believe it was right around 1933, if I remember right. These vets started organizing and they walked to DC and marched on DC. They wanted to kind of change things. They were a little upset about it. However, being as it was 1933 versus 1945, when they got there, the Congress and the government was like, yeah, no, sorry for you, you gotta wait. We don't have the money to do this. You guys should know that. Well, they didn't want to hear that. They decided that they were gonna stay there, and there was about, in total, I think there was like right around 43,000 people with vets and family, because they brought their families, their wives and kids, and they just cruised along, and they were setting up camp. They were right across the river, and they'd walk in to town every day and picket and be like, hey, come on, you're screwing us over. We're getting treated unfair. Well, the government didn't think so. And, Hoover was president at the time. He called in the army to face off against these vets, and it ended poorly. God, I want to say it was Eisenhower was under his command, but I don't know why, but the general's name slips my mind right now. He was told, just keep the peace. Well, he decided, nope, we're getting them out of here. We're sick of it. And he did. He went through and literally burned them out. Burned out their shanty town, and it was crazy. But by the end of, day two, everybody was gone. They were just walking back home. A couple years later, there was another like mini bonus march. I mean, same thing. They marched on them. So, but they said this time they were like, yeah, we will honor this. And I believe that was in '36. I don't know if they had some idea that World War II was getting ready to happen or what, and didn't want everybody to be pissed at them or what was going on. But they granted it 9 years early, and they were like, okay, so everybody left peacefully. But during that initial one, there were 135 arrests during that, and there was 55 casualties, and I believe in the initial there was 2 people shot, and in the end they did end up dying, which is a sad deal. But these are things that we don't really talk about when we talk about the Great Depression in history class. Another thing that we don't really talk about enough is the New Deal. Is it perfect? No, not really. But out of the New Deal came Social Security, a bunch of jobs, which, if we were to do that now, holy moly, it wouldn't happen. Look at all the things that they're trying to get going that sound good, might not be good, could be good in the long run, but they're controversial. It took the Great Depression literally to bring about Social Security, unemployment, and different things like that. Even Medicaid. Obviously Medicaid was further down the road. But then, along with that though, came the Tennessee Valley Authority, which created dams and did just a lot of good things. When they did these dams, it created a lot of jobs. I believe Hoover Dam was built during that time. And with that, it also created hydroelectricity, generate power for the nation. And it also did a lot for flood control, which I would have to gather Lake Sakakawea wouldn't be where it is now had something like this been put in place. When thinking about all that stuff, especially, what was it, like 4 or 5 years ago, we had like a mini depression, or I don't even know if you want to call it the recession. The Great Recession is what they're calling it now. And everybody's like, oh, it's terrible, it's terrible. Like, I think a lot of these people forget how bad that really was. There was riots for food in the United States. That's ridiculous. There's almost no reason for that, and a lot of it just has to do with, we still need the things. Just because those knotheads on Wall Street trade a couple pieces of paper doesn't mean we don't still need things. So, we kind of have to get things together and make sure that we keep this from happening. We can do that just as a community, by looking out for each other and stuff when stuff like that does happen. But anyhow, thank you guys all for your time, and thank you for participating. Appreciate it, guys.